Hey guys, welcome back today to another video. Now, as you can see from the title, we are doing Premier League predictions for this season. It was one of my most popular videos last year, and I'm a week late. The reason I'm a week late is because I didn't record it before the first matches. I was going to do it on the Saturday, but then Arsenal had already played on the Friday. I thought the best way to do this so that there was absolutely zero bias whatsoever, because I left it late, was to do it after all of the first round of fixtures have been played. Now, obviously, there's been a few surprise results, notably my football team, which I'm sure we're going to touch upon at some stage during this predictions video, but I wrote these down just before. I'm not actually going to show you, like, I'm going to hold it right here, this on a piece of paper. I wrote them down before the first matches, and I looked at them, and even after round one, there was not a single one that I wanted to change. So this is all pretty consistent, and we're going to start in the relegation places. Now, first of all, they had a very, very good win last weekend. They won 3-0 away at Crystal Palace, which is a very good result whether you have just come up and it's your first ever Premier League game, or if it's halfway through the season and you're one of the big clubs. Huddersfield, I think they're going to get relegated, unfortunately. I just don't think the squad is going to be good enough to sustain 38 matches, and I think they may have a good start, they may pick up a few points early on, but I think they're going to have some seriously struggling, tough patches throughout the season. Sorry, Huddersfield fans. Brighton as well. I just don't see where they're going to win matches often. And then I've also put Swansea in the relegation zone. They've sort of been faltering down the table slowly over the last few years. They've been relegation sort of candidates, and they've been threatening themselves with relegation now for a while. And I think this could be the year they go down. And ironically, Cardiff, their Welsh rivals, have started very well in the Championship. So could there be a little shift there? Who knows? But those are my bottom three. We're going to start moving up the table now. So 17th place, just avoiding relegation, we have got Crystal Palace. Now, they've got a new manager, Frank de Boer. We don't know exactly what he's going to be like in the Premier League. They started awfully. They probably had the worst result of any team on the opening weekend, losing 3-0 at home to New Boys Huddersfield. Now, I still think they're going to have a struggling season. They've got some great players. They've got the likes of Christian Benteke, who at some stage, he was actually one of Chelsea's targets to be their lead striker in the Premier League. And we won the league last season. Benteke is the main man for Palace. Don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to have a struggling season. I don't think it's going to work out for de Boer. Not sure if he's going to get sacked or if they're going to let him go all the way through to the end, but I think they're going to really struggle. Temporary interruption to this video because a parcel's just arrived, and I figured that the best thing to do would just be to have a little interlude in the predictions and open these on camera. So, new trainers, guys. These only released like 3 days ago. I'm not really thinking about how I'm doing this, am I? Okay, so temporary break. Not sponsored by Adidas. No NMD Prime Knits. Anyway, moving on. So in 16th place, and giving me more of an excuse to remember what happened last Saturday afternoon, Burnley. I think that, yes, they had possibly the best start they could have imagined to day one, beating my beloved Chelsea at Stamford Bridge 3-2 in what was a very convincing victory. Now, obviously, towards the end, it looked like we were going to get an equaliser, and I think if they wouldn't have won that game, considering how badly we did play in the first half and the fact that we had 9 men on the pitch at the end, it would have been a disaster for Sean Dyche's team. But last season, they only won once away from home. They've already done that. That could be a little hoodoo that is out of the way for Burnley now. This was one that I was thinking, like, should I put Burnley slightly higher up in the table? I still don't think their squad is good enough to sort of compete for the top half. But 16th, Premier League survival, I think they'll be happy with that again. Now then, in 15th and 14th, we have got Newcastle and Southampton. Now, first of all, with Newcastle, I don't think they've spent enough money in the transfer window for me to be able to sit here and say Newcastle are going to be back up there as a top half Premier League club. That's where they belong, and I think a lot of Newcastle fans are obviously saddened that Mike Ashley is still there, they've not spent money, and a lot of people think that they don't actually have the squad good enough to be in the Premier League. Obviously, I watched the True Geordie's videos. I honour his opinion as a Newcastle fan more than most, and he seems to think that they've got a championship squad, which I would agree with, but I do feel as though they're going to be able to win enough points at home to be able to stay in the Premier League, putting them in 15th. Southampton in 14th. We never really know what to expect from Southampton. They seem to lose all of their players after another great season. They seem to consistently be doing so well in the Premier League. Looks as though they're going to lose Van Dijk. There's all this stuff about injuries with players, and we're going to get onto that with another club and a certain team in a moment. about a certain player as we get higher up the table. But I think Van Dijk's going to leave. I don't think he is actually injured. I think he just doesn't want to play for Southampton because he's looking for that big money Premier League move. It looks as though they're going to bring in a replacement centre-back anyway, but is he as good as Van Dijk? No. 14th place for Southampton. It would be a big fall after recent years, but they keep losing so many of their best players, and the fact they're still in the league is pretty great already. Right then, we're still in the bottom half of the table, but we are progressively getting closer now to the top half, and where the teams that are in and around these areas every season, they want to be in that 10th place and above. But two teams that I think are just going to miss out this season are Stoke and Bournemouth. We have put Stoke in 13th, as I just referred to my notes there. Stoke down in 13th, Bournemouth in 12th. I think Mark Hughes at Stoke, he's done a good job, but I feel as though Arnautovic was one of the best players. They've lost him to West Ham, and I don't really know if Stoke are going to kick on from what they've done in the past. I think obviously the top half of the table, it has been quite assured in the last few years, apart from like the 10th and the 9th, and I feel as though Stoke have gone backwards. They've just signed Hesse from PSG, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Obviously he was at Real Madrid as well, he's played in the Champions League. They've got 5 players who have won the Champions League in their squad, which is more than any other team in the league, which is actually quite ridiculous, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them to get in the top half. Bournemouth again, last season under Eddie Howe, they surprised me. I definitely didn't put them in 10th place in my Premier League predictions last season, and I think they surprised everybody. It was a great season, they're good to watch, there's always goals involved in their games, and I think this season is going to be another good one for them. Premier League survival is pretty much assured in my opinion. 12th place, if you're a Bournemouth fan, would you be happy with that? I think I would be. Now making up the bottom half, I have put West Brom. Last season, they probably overachieved. I think at one stage or another they were 7th, and it was looking like it was going to be a phenomenal season. But thanks to West Brom, Michy Batshuayi put it in the back of the net, Chelsea Premier League champions. So for that, I'm going to be kind and say 11th. I think another decent season for West Brom. They're not going to be worried about relegation. Tony Pulis has just signed a new deal, I believe, as well. 11th place for them. Let's move into the top half. Now in 10th place, and I don't know how much this has to do with the fact that Chalobah was one of my favourite Chelsea youngsters and he has signed for Watford, meaning that I think Watford are going to do better than they actually will. Not sure if that is part of the bias as to why I've put them into 10th, but they had a good season last season. It looked at one stage as though they were plummeting towards the drop after a bad run of form at the start of the new year. But I think Watford are going to have a good season again. They've made some very, very good signings. They've got a new manager in as well, in Silva, who was at Hull last season. He almost managed to keep them up. I think he's got the calibre to be a very good manager, and I think that obviously they keep chopping and changing. And I don't know if that's going to work for Watford in the long run, but I think if there is one manager that actually could potentially have more than a year at Watford, it could be Silva. I think they're going to have a great year this year. I'll put them in 10th. Now this is where it starts to get really interesting. We're into the top half of the table now. We're into the teams that are not going to be qualifying for Europe, but could potentially have a good run in the Cups. Now I've gone with West Ham in 9th place, and I feel as though they've made some fantastic signings, and it was extremely underwhelming watching them against Manchester United. I don't know if it was more so the fact that it just looked as though West Ham were awful, which they kind of were, but United looked very good. Let's not take any away from the fact that United have spent the most money this summer, or the second most money this summer, one of the two out of the Manchester clubs, and they just looked very, very good. 4-0. West Ham are currently bottom of the table, but I feel as though they're going to have a good season. Hernandez is a great signing as a striker. He could easily bag in 15, 20 goals as long as he doesn't get injured, and I think they're going to come 9th. Think. That leaves another very good season for Leicester City. Now obviously champions 2 years ago, we all knew that wasn't going to happen for the second year in a row. Ranieri last season, he got the sack, much to my dismay, and I think everyone else's dismay, after winning them the Premier League. And Shakespeare's come in, and it's pretty much been a new poem since then, really, hasn't it? I was trying to think of something funny to say there, and it just didn't, sorry. It's a newly found sonnet.
There you go.
A love sonnet, that's what sonnet is, isn't it? A love poem.
Love poem, yeah.
14 lines. Literature.
Learn something new every day.
Hope your A-levels results were good, by the way. But yeah, it looks as though they've managed to keep Riyad Mahrez away from Roma, and we didn't really see many of the Mahrez-Vardy partnership last season. There's already an assist in the bank there in the game against Arsenal. Jamie Vardy scored twice there as well. He looked almost back to what he was like the year Leicester won the league. If they can keep those two guys in form, they've made some very good signings as well. I think Abora's a good signing in the middle, and obviously there's talk at the moment that Christian Fuchs might be leaving. He's a good left back in my opinion. I honestly think Leicester could have another great year, and if you're a Leicester fan, obviously you've got the Champions League last season, there's no more Europe this year, you can focus on the league again. Would you be happy with 8th? I think that would be another great achievement. Wow, this Vegas flu thing is real. So this is the super interesting bit, and I'm sure the part of the video that most of you guys have been waiting for. If you're still here, by the way, leave a like and let me know your predictions in the comments. 7th place. Now the top 7, I feel like it's getting closer because of the money that Everton have spent. I think the top 6 is pretty much a guarantee for most people. It's whether or not Everton could be that team to break into that top 6. Now, I've put them in 7th. They have signed Sigurdsson this week as well, which doesn't really change my opinion on that. I feel as though Sigurdsson is a great player. He's one of the best players in the league. He could probably walk now with the form that he's had in the last couple of years into most Premier League clubs. But at the same time, it didn't work for him at Tottenham. Is he going to be enough to make Everton a top 4 club? I don't think he is. I think Rooney back is brilliant. I think if he plays up front, he's going to score a lot of goals again just because he's going to get the service and he's going to get the minutes that he wasn't necessarily getting at Man United. Is it going to be enough for Everton though? I don't think it is, and I've put them just behind their Merseyside rivals Liverpool in 6th. Now the main reason for this, we go back to the Van Dijk thing, Coutinho. Is he injured? No. Is he going to leave? Yes. Should Liverpool sell him now? Yes. Why? So that they can buy someone to replace him. Coutinho is Liverpool's best player. They're dragging out the transfer. The guy doesn't want to be at Liverpool anymore. He wants to be at Barcelona. Let the man leave. We're going to be talking 100 million plus, and they've got 2 weeks to reinvest that. On who? I don't know, but 2 weeks is better than 3 days when he leaves at the end of the window, and Klopp is there like, do we have someone? No, we don't have someone to replace Coutinho. And we've also got Champions League football and a smaller squad. Great, well done Jurgen. You know, you're meant to be taking Liverpool up a level to compete for the title, not just qualify for the Champions League. If they lose Coutinho and don't replace him, they will definitely miss out on Champions League football in my opinion. Do I think they're going to get someone as good as Coutinho in to actually take them from being a top 4 team to a title contender? No. That's why I put them in 6th, followed up by Arsenal. Now, Lacazette looks like a good signing, and I feel as though that game against Leicester, me doing these predictions now, means that I can sort of back this up with this point, and it's, yes, I know it's cheating a little bit, there's already been a game, but whatever. Lacazette's going to score goals. Arsenal are probably going to win more games than they drew or lost last season because of his goals. They finished 5th last season, but I also feel as though the teams above them are stronger, and 3 of them have actually strengthened. Well, 2 of them have strengthened, we'll get into that in a moment. But yes, I think Arsenal are going to just about miss out again, because Spurs, I put them in 4th. We're going to get to the top 3 because that's where the real sort of argument amongst myself is going to be. Spurs in 4th. I feel as though even though they've not made so many signings, I think they will make a couple of signings before the end of the window, and the starting 11 is so much better than Arsenal's, in my opinion, that they're going to be just ahead of them. I don't think it's so much better, that's probably an exaggeration, but I do think Tottenham have one of the best 11s in the league, even without signing anyone already. So Harry Kane, in my opinion, is going to win the Golden Boot again, and that's going to be just about enough to put them ahead of Arsenal in 4th. There is kind of a reason why I've not really spoke about Spurs that much in this video. It's because my next video is probably going to be me at the Spurs match, and we're probably going to lose, but that's the pessimist within me. 3rd place. Now, this is a tough one because we got beat by Burnley. I'm a Chelsea fan, so of course there's going to be some element of bias, and I know people don't like that, but obviously I do have some sort of blue tinted glasses on always. It would be stupid if I didn't. 3rd, Chelsea. I don't think we've actually strengthened at all. I had this argument with some friends of mine. Begovic or Caballero? I'd take Begovic. John Terry or Rudiger? I don't know enough about Rudiger to say that he's going to be able to walk into the dressing room and replace what John Terry brought to the dressing room regardless of performance. Bakayoko or Matic? Don't know enough about Bakayoko. Matic proven in the Premier League, and we sold him to Man United. I'd rather have Matic. Then we have got Alvaro Morata or Diego Costa. Now, Morata came on against Burnley, made a massive impact, scored a goal, got an assist, looked very sharp indeed. Diego Costa, though, in my opinion, won us the league last year, contrary to many Chelsea fans' opinions because of his second half of the season. The way Costa played in that first half, he was the best player in the Premier League in my opinion. Won us games just from the bullying nature of what he did to defenders to allow Hazard to score those goals, to allow Pedro to start scoring goals. That was because Hazard bullied defenders out of the way. Costa, sorry, not Hazard. Do I think Morata's going to settle in quickly enough in the Premier League? Only time will tell. If he does, then it could be a better season than what I'm predicting in 3rd, which I think, considering how much money has been spent by all the clubs, I think anyone who finishes in the top 3 this year can be happy with it. But I don't think we've strengthened enough, which means the 2 Manchester clubs are taking over. So who's going to win the league? Both Manchester clubs have spent more money than any other team so far in the transfer window. That can obviously change because we've still got 2 weeks to go. Who's going to win the league? This is what we're all here for. I have put Man City top. Now, I did it last season because I felt like Guardiola as a manager, world class, even though he's only been proven at Barcelona and Bayern Munich, which is not exactly difficult to do well. But they had probably the best squad last season. And if they don't have the best squad now and don't win the league, then Guardiola's got to go. Because they have spent so much money on what was already a stupidly talented team. They've got to win it, surely. I know that's stupid logic because we don't know if all the players are going to gel together and it's actually going to work. It looks like it is. They look very good against Brighton. 2-0 away win. Brighton obviously just come up. That was a good result for City. And I feel as though there's just so much quality in that team that they can't not win it. That's awful reasoning, but I'm sure a few of you agree. And it wouldn't be fair if I didn't speak about second place Man United. Jose Mourinho, whatever us Chelsea fans think about him, he is a good manager. He's won it all, he's done it all. And I feel as though now that he's brought in Lukaku, a proven Premier League goal scorer, and Matic, he literally does make the difference. I called it before the game last weekend. Ironically, Matic was the best player on the pitch. Matic allows Pogba to be the world-class signing that everyone expected him to be last season, but people were a bit disappointed. The reason they were disappointed is because United's midfield wasn't good enough. They didn't have somebody... Carrick, yes, he's good in front of the defenders. Mata's also a good midfielder, which allows Pogba to be a bit more free roaming. Matic is perfect to make Pogba the best version of the player that he is. That is going to make the difference. Lukaku's going to bag in the goals. Mkhitaryan looks as though he's ready to prop up with the assists. Martial started, scored. Rashford... Man United are scary. They're actually really scary and it's making my voice go, which is probably a good time for me to wrap up this video. But yeah, those are my Premier League predictions for this season. Obviously, like we did last year, I'd love for you guys to not only scrutinise mine, but let me know your predictions in the comments down below. And I know this is quite a heated topic when it comes to sticking up for your own club and all of that stuff, but if we can avoid like the death threats and the go and jump off a bridge stuff, just because, you know, it's not really needed. It's football at the end of the day. We're all here because we like football. Some of you may not be, but most of us are watching this video because we like football. We don't need to be horrible to one another, really. There's banter and then there's just being a dick, so don't be the latter. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. New video tomorrow. Potentially another one on Monday as well, depending on whether or not the studio that I've booked is legit. But anyway, we will catch you all then. Bye-bye.